Oh yeah, it's GameCube time. Alright, let's see what we've got. Done that, no thanks. Maybe in the future, no way. Oh, what do we have here? Oh yeah, that's the one.
If you can't beat 'em, eat 'em.
Kirby Air Ride is definitely one of the games of all time. Directed by Kirby's creator and Smash Bros. Director, Masahiro Sakurai, Kirby Air Ride is a departure from the traditional side-scrolling of the franchise. Air Ride is a racing game, with gameplay basically boiling down to the mastery of one skill. Drifting. With always-on auto-acceleration and no brakes, the only thing you can do besides turn is hold the A button to begin a charge. The longer you hold A, the more you slow down, letting you make tighter turns and gain a burst of speed when you finally release the charge. While in a game like Mario Kart, a beginner player might be totally unaware of the drifting mechanic, Kirby Air Ride forces the player to understand it and master it by making it one of the only controls available. So, with such a simple premise, why are people playing it competitively 20 years after release?
I would say this game is unique in that it is one of the first games of this type. It feels like a predecessor to Battle Royale games where you're just trying to collect items and it's mixed in with a racing game.
I feel like no other racing game has ever really done that, where you can upgrade your vehicle while playing the game basically. And another thing is that no other racing game really comes close to the flight you can get in this game, because in other racing games like Mario Kart, there's just gliding and you don't really get to like go up, down. You basically just have a slower descent. In Kirby Air Ride, you can go up, you can go down, like you have a full range of movement while flying.
Wait, did they say Battle Royale and flying? I think we might have skipped something. So, with such a simple premise, why are people playing it competitively 20 years after release? Well, in true Sakurai fashion, Kirby Air Ride functions nothing like other games in the racing genre. Aiming to create a racing game that wasn't just striving for perfection and shaving time off your laps, Sakurai developed a game mode that seemingly predicted the future of gaming in the late 2010s. It was called City Trial.
The City Trial is one of a kind unique game mode. It's been present in other newer games like Smash Run, I believe, for Smash 3DS. Basically, you're thrown into an arena, you're given a limited amount of time, and you have to upgrade yourself for a final stadium.
After the timer runs out, everybody has to compete in a stadium. These can be races, it can be how far you can glide, it can just be fighting, but the goal is to collect the right items to win the stadium.
Basically, the game is like a match of Fortnite that ends with a Fall Guys minigame, but instead of being a pink bean who can barely stand on his own 2 feet, you're a pink bean strapped to a rocket going 600,000 miles per hour.
No. Wait.
Needless to say, the machines are the driving force of the game.
I feel like one of the key attributes of this game compared to other racing games from that era, so Sonic Riders or F-Zero and even Mario Kart, is like you have like more unique styles per machine. Like you get the Swerve Star that stops and starts and turns around instantly, or the Rocket which charges and then goes super fast. And stuff like that. I think that's what adds variety to the game that keeps it alive.
So this game you need to learn how to control both on the ground and in the air. And each vehicle has a different control type to it, so you have to learn those as well. Because unlike in Mario Kart, most karts play the same. But in this game, a Swerve Star is very different to, let's say, a Wagon Star.
Here are a list of all the machines available in-game with their unique attributes. The list is pretty long, so feel free to pause if you want to read more about them. So, how do you go about selecting your machine? Unlike a traditional racer where you make your choice pre-race, in car, vehicle selection is based on RNG and what you can find around the map.
Everybody starts out on the Compact Star. It's pretty good most of the game, but typically by mid or late game you want to be switched off to another star because it really starts to fall off, although it's really good for collecting stats.
So stars you can usually find across the map, there's a trick where if you jump off your vehicle, you can see stars all around you. If not, that could mean there's none on the field, or they can be hidden, which usually means there's a legendary vehicle in play.
Legendary machines are the game's strongest vehicles, the Dragoon and Hydra. You'll likely recognize the Dragoon if you've played any Smash Bros since Brawl. These legendary machines aren't as easy to get as the rest of the stars.
They are both obtained the same way. So through red boxes spread across the map, appearing randomly at a certain times. There's no special catch to them, you just kind of have to find them and see like a random stray red box somewhere in a very off area.
Typically, you'll see a red box in a certain spot, like if you find a red box underneath the forest, then it's always going to have a piece for one of those.
So now we understand the driving force behind the game. Let's look at how a round of car plays out. Players are dropped into a tightly packed map comprising a mishmash of environments the players are free to explore as they please. You've got a city right next to a volcano, a forest that leads to a golf course, which has a hole to launch yourself out of, and a water wheel you can ride, and, not far away, a 4-story parking garage. Sorry, the Electric Lounge. There are also some hidden locations like the underground in the forest or the floating platform in the sky, as well as many interactable features like boost pads and grind rails. As players explore the city, they'll find stat boosts used to upgrade every aspect of their machine.
So you get the basic power-up types, so offense up, speed up, charge up, turn up, etc. Like that makes your stats better so you can compete at the final stadium.
You find them in boxes, you'll find them spawning around the city, you'll find them from events, you'll find them like basically anywhere. There's so many ways to get stats.
There can be upgrade ones or downgrade ones, so if you see a grey one, you want to avoid them and don't collect them.
As the round progresses, events will occur at random intervals. The severity of the events can vary wildly. You've got meteors raining from the sky, or railways lighting on fire, or a giant bird named Dynablade who descends from the heavens and tries to kill you. Or it can just be some bouncy item or fog. Just fog. It even has its own soundtrack. Yeah. Man. Survive. For the most part, players will want to participate in events as they typically yield rewards despite being hazardous. After the time limit is up, players are then sent to a stadium that will decide the victor of the match. These stadiums can take many different forms, like races, gliding competitions to see who can fly the furthest, a target contest where you basically play darts with yourself, and even a battle against King DDD. With all this in mind, you might be wondering how this game can be played competitively. After all, the stats you get are random, and depending on your luck, you can totally dominate specific stadiums in the most lopsided battles of all time. Well, there is one more aspect of the game we haven't covered yet, the basis of the game's competitive nature, which is the player-to-player interactions, aka combat.
Without capabilities, the combat goes in either two ways. Simply bumping into each other, which causes damage, like you're just bumping into them, hitting them. However, most players or most experienced players try to aim for quick spins or combo quick spins. You flick your controller left and right to perform a quick spin and then to hit the opponent with a combo, which causes them to get hit like multiple times with good amount of damage. Usually kills them if you're using a machine such as the Shadow or Rex. Shadows benefit the most out of this. If you get a Shadow with a good amount of offense and weight, you can just bump into anyone and kill them instantly.
Aside from bumping and quick spinning, green boxes also spawn around the map that offer offensive items when broken, such as a giant Gordo you can hurl at your opponent, a rapid-fire fireworks cannon, a sensor bomb which acts as a landmine, or panic spin which sends the player into a spinning frenzy. There are also quick fix patches which offer greatly increased stats for a short period of time, which are also great for offense, but are mostly used for escaping bad situations.
When you're trying to run away, you want to get anything that gives you max speed, defense up, or charge tank items. The special items that give you temporary boost, because they will let you run away as fast as you can from an enemy. If special defense up will give you a small speed boost while also increasing your defense. Or get into the air. Flying into the air, it will be much harder for your opponent to hit you because you're in the air. So they will have to not only maneuver in back and forth and side to side, but also up and down. So there's another axis to take into account for attacking.
But it wouldn't really be a Kirby game without his signature copy abilities.
There are abilities as well, like Plasma, Sleep, Fire, Ice, Sword, which all do different types of helpful things when trying to either A, move, or B, try to kill your opponents.
When you kill another player, they lose their machine, so they have to run to find a new one, and they lose a lot of their stats. This can be really bad, and basically just lose you the game if you lose too many stats at the wrong time, and you just don't have a machine to get on.
Yeah, baby!
So typically a lot of the early game fighting, I guess, is over the stats. Sometimes you'll see people trying to steal each other's stats or just compete for the machine, see who can get on the machine faster, and sometimes people may try to break each other's machines before they get on them, or just break the machine they're on just to like hinder them a bit. But typically early game there's not too much fighting. However, as we move on to the mid game, this is when people have more of an idea of the stadium and people have more of an idea of how good their opponent is doing, how fast they're doing, what kind of stats they might have. Late game is typically when most of the fights happen. This is when people are all powered up, and if you can get a kill late game, you're almost guaranteed to win in the stadium.
This game is about knowing your location of your enemy as well. You want to try to read their movements like in a Smash game. You don't want to like blindly guess where they're going. You want to see how they're doing. You want to see how much stats they have. You want to make educated guesses on what they're doing and what they're going to do.
Mastering combat is the most crucial aspect of Kirby Air Ride. While the stadium decides the victor, landing a decisive blow at the right time can be devastating, and sometimes in a competitive match, you'll see players forfeit at the start of the stadium if they've lost too many stats or an important machine. And if you're going to master this game's combat, it's important that you understand iframes.
For advanced knowledge of the game, one of the important things is iframing things. So you overheard me saying quick spin earlier, that lets you get out of situations that are very tricky or really dangerous.
When you spin, you get 20 initial iframes and the whole spin lasts for 90 total. And spinning is very useful because this first initial 20 iframes can help you avoid a lot of attacks.
And with those invincibility frames, you can, let's say, dodge someone throwing a Gordo at you, dodging someone shooting a plasma at you, or if someone else spins at the same time with you, you will go right through them, but you won't take any damage. Invincibility frames are used for protection and offense.
A couple items will have initial iframes too. The tornado will have you spin immediately upon collecting it because it's like an amplified spin. The spin power-up or item will give you 2 full seconds of iframes before continuing on with just a strong spin. However, the issue with this one is that you might get caught off guard if somebody can spin through you. You don't have any iframes beyond the initial 2 seconds, and it leaves you kind of vulnerable. You can see this with a lot of items where with plasma or maybe bomb or something, you can't spin and get those iframes while you're like holding that plasma or bomb. You are basically left somewhat vulnerable while using those.
With how dangerous combat can be, you may think players would opt to avoid each other entirely as to not risk death. But, thanks to the game's random events, avoiding player interaction can be just as detrimental as dying.
The events that happen in the city are either beneficial or just a nuisance.
The ones that cause the most events for player interactions are Dino Blade, Tack, and the Pillar. Because these events are about going to a certain area on the map and trying to get the most stats from the event as possible. Because people try to fight over Dino Blade for the all patch, people try to fight over Tech because of the amount of stuff you can drop, and people try to go after the Pillar because the Pillar has a lot of stats that are usually pertain to what the stadium is going to be.
But much like Smash Bros., Kirby Air Ride is first and foremost intended to be a party game. Meaning if you try and play it competitively with its default rule set, you're going to be met with a very unbalanced experience. This has led to the competitive community creating their own rule set with balance in mind. But unlike in Smash, where all settings can be changed manually in the game, the Kirby Air Ride scene had to create a mod pack for many of these rules to be implemented.
The rule set we currently use involves some banning of certain stadiums so that we don't unfairly get like a ton of items and then just lose because the stadium would help you if you had less items. So we've disabled a couple of those and just the fight against King Dedede because that has no real competitive aspects to it. The format used is just a best of 3 and sometimes best of 5 towards top 8 or the later games in the tournament. I believe it's usually best of 5 for grand finals. The control scheme is slightly edited through the hack pack. A is the only button that really controls in the base game, but in the hack pack, B can stop without charging, which can be useful for certain items. You can also control the camera using the C stick, and with the hack pack, there's also the added functionality of pressing X or Y to use the camera to look behind you.
However, making changes to such a simple control scheme can result in unintended side effects. Now, with the ability to come to a full stop without having to charge, players were able to permanently stunlock opponents who had lost their machines.
First things that come to mind is the whole stun locking enemies, because now that you have the ability to press B to break, but not that allows you to stop, but not use any sort of ability like plasma bombs, time bombs, or Gardos even. You can stop and stay still and be able to just aim freely at an enemy, or in some cases stun lock enemies, because you can hold break and then prepare a quick spin.
Recently there's a code implemented that allows you to just not get hit when you're off your machine. This sometimes allows for people to get off their machine if they think they're about to get killed and just bail so they don't lose their stuff.
I find it good and bad because, one, when someone dies, usually sometimes you get flung up into the air depending on what killed you, such as a Gordo. Before the invincibility frames, when you got killed by a Gordo, you would be juggled by it for a couple seconds before eventually landing on the ground. But with the invincibility frames, you just go right through the Gordo and can quickly get onto another machine. However, when someone has a bit too much stats to where even killing them won't bring them down that much, it can be an issue because they can immediately get on a vehicle and start going on a rampage once again.
Clearly, custom balancing a game can be difficult, and in its current form, a little bit of good sportsmanship may be required. One aspect of the game that seems like it would be a major issue is machine balance. Certain machines have very specific strengths and weaknesses, and depending on which stadium gets drafted and the machine you're on, a situation like this might happen. But this isn't as bad as it appears. This kind of balancing leads to important decision making in the city phase of the game. Because you don't know exactly what the stadium will be, sometimes the game gives you a prediction message which isn't guaranteed to happen and can be incorrect, or if you pay close attention to the stat drops in the game, they might give a hint as to which stadium is coming up. Notice a lot of glide dropping? You're likely in for an air glide match. If the stadium is obvious, it can turn into a game of keep away, making sure you snatch the powerful machine first, or destroy it so your opponents can't have it. The legendary machines also have major weaknesses despite their cool sounding names. Dragoon is super fast and has amazing flight, but is a total glass cannon. Hydra, on the other hand, is fast, deadly, and tanky, but it has a charging period before it can start going. Meaning if another player can pull it off, well, this can happen.
Come here! Okay, yes! Yes!
The game has other modes besides City Trial, but one is just a simple race mode, and the other is Top Ride. Yeah, I'm not gonna talk about Top Ride. Needless to say, the game has an incredibly in-depth competitive meta thanks to the work of the community and their passion to push the game forward, especially after all these years. If you're interested, they have a really, really active Discord, and there are always people looking to play or help out new players.
This game can look scary when looking at how people play, but it's just about taking time out of your day just to learn what the game does, what strats you can do, the little minor stuff you can pull off. Just because you're getting killed doesn't mean you're out.
Be ready for a world of pain because you will be destroyed over and over before you get good, but once you do, it is just so much fun.
Thanks to everyone who spoke with us for this video, and we look forward to seeing you in the city. This video is made possible thanks to our wonderful patrons. Massive thank you to everyone on this list, and shout out to B, Cloud, Pass, Shampoo, Spartacus, and Yashichi for being Platinum supporters. And an extra special shout out to Steph and Jack for being our Diamond supporters. We appreciate you and all the support you've given us. If you want to talk to us, check out our Discord. If you want to support our channel and get info on unreleased videos, check out our Patreon. If you want to help us out in a different way, leaving a like, subscribing, and hitting the bell to stay up to date is also appreciated. My name is Jonah. Thanks for watching.